Hi, everyone. This is meteorologist Timmy. I'm here with you guys. We were recording a weather chat, and then not long after we stopped doing the recording, I was looking at the radar again here, watching those storms out across parts of Kansas. And I'll tell you what, one of them is really looking pretty good here. Pretty nice supercell structure here. It does actually have a tornado warning that is on it. Right now, nothing confirmed on the ground, but it certainly looks like it is trying to get some type of rotate or some type of low level rotation really going here. For those of you who don't know what we're looking at here, this radar imagery right here that my cursor is over, this is the regular reflectivity radar that you're used to seeing. This back over here is a velocity radar imagery. It tells us what directions the winds are going within the storm. In this case, it just measures it in one of two directions, either towards the radar site or away from the radar site. Greens are winds going towards, reds are winds going away from the radar site. Now, what we're looking for is when we see high values of both of those colors pretty much right up on each other. And it really looks like here on the radar scan that this right here is probably where we're seeing some very decent rotation here, as a matter of fact. So if we take a kind of a little bit of a look at this here, basically what you're seeing within the storm here is a pretty well-defined supercell signature here. A little bit, I don't want to say textbook because no two storms are ever really alike, but this one is very well defined here, as a matter of fact. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So we have our storm here itself. Upper level winds are pushing where the uplift is happening is right around here. Those upper level winds are pushing that heavier precipitation just off to the north of it, but then we're getting some of that maybe rain cooled air coming down on the backside of it. And long story short, what we're seeing is well, pretty much where the rotation center is there, kind of a little bit of a nice little nice little storm, I guess I should say. Well, actually, I wouldn't say that this thing is little. It's actually a pretty decent sized thunderstorm here. So again, we have our rotation right around this area right here. Again, we can see it pretty nicely here. As a matter of fact, here on this latest radar scan, let's go ahead and take a look because that might actually be it here on the radar right outside Alu Vista. Yeah, that's about it. If there is a trail, that's probably it right there. You can see it even on the precipitation radar there. That's pretty cool. We see that every now and then, especially when these guys are a little bit closer towards the actual radar site. Now, right now, let's see here if we actually got something that is on the ground. And yes, it does look like we may actually have ourselves a decent little trail here on the ground, about right in this area here. So let's take a look here really quickly. What exactly that you are looking at here? Sorry, I'm just seeing all this information now. So I'm seeing it, for the first time myself here, so trying to get everything coordinated here. So basically, long story short here, now it looks like officially it hasn't been anything confirmed, but I actually at least want to report there may actually be something on the grounds here. And judging by some of these returns here, I would not be very surprised. And so again, what we're looking at right here, again, this is where the hail and the heavier rain part of the thunderstorm is. All right. At least around here, what we tend to see here is that is typically on the northern edge of, or the upper edge here of the supercell. So again, this is kind of the area where we expect it, and based upon upper level winds, it might be here sometimes, it could be over here sometimes. You get the idea. Long story short, though, this is where the heavy rain is. This is where a lot of the hail is. So sometimes they say you have hail before a tornado. It depends upon where exactly it's situated within the exactly how the supercell itself is kind of laid out here. Because obviously, if you're down around this area, you probably aren't seeing. Actually, you might have actually had some hail earlier on. So that probably wasn't a terribly good example, but you get the idea. All right, so there's your heavier precipitation. Now we have the inflow of the thunderstorm right here. You can kind of see this nice little dry slot right here. Again, the air is coming in this way, but we also have air that is descending. And what's happening is as this rotation actually increases, all right, what we see is that it actually begins to kind of pull some of this rain back down. And that's what gives it this nice little hook shape here. So if you ever hear the term a hook echo, this is what they're talking about. It looks like a little hook. All right. So There you go. Now, this thing, like I said, is certainly rotating pretty nicely. But in case you haven't noticed, we're in kind of a rural-ish area. Alta Vista is the nearest town, and from the looks of it, probably not really much else. You know, at least immediately around where the storm is. Now, mind you, this is a very rural farming area there, so it certainly is probably causing some effect nonetheless. But we are looking, well to the west here right now of Topeka, Kansas, and certainly well, way off towards the uh, west of Kansas City, which is what we were talking about during our weather chat. So let's take one more look here, of course, at the radar imagery. Man, this thing is really looking nice. Let's take a look here. And you can really see here, like I said, if there is trail, this is pretty much where it is right here. So you can see how it's kind of wrapping this, the rain is getting kind of pulled in here on the back side of it. It's kind of wrapping around a little bit. And my guess is here is like I said, it's if there is trail on the ground, it's probably somewhere right around here. But regardless of the fact, it is certainly a good low level rotation nonetheless. Even if there's something on the ground, uh, certainly is going to be a photogenic one. Well, actually, it's probably dark there now. But it certainly probably has a very nice defined wall cloud with it. And actually, let's double check here the radar scan here. If we can't maybe get a more. Oh yeah. There's definitely something on the ground there. So this thing is actually really nice here. Really is looking really good here on the radar signature here. So what we'll do here really quickly is we'll flip this back over to our single radar site here. And what I really want to do is kind of take a nice little look at this guy here. Again, this is a very photogenic one. Again, we're very close actually to the radar site, which is part of the reason why we have such a really good look at that. Look at that. Which is part of the reason why we have such a really good scan. Yeah, my guess is here is I was looking at the VILs not the VIL, the correlation coefficients on. It does look like we certainly probably do have something that is on the ground, or at least was on the ground. Now, again, this is a very rural area, all right. So, when it comes to damage, surveys, it can be a little trippy sometimes around here because there's not really much to survey. We tend to see that sometimes with these storms. Case in point, we've had some pretty big, severe thunderstorms some pretty decent sized trails that were rated kind of low because there was no damage to see. And man, look at that thing. That thing is really looking nice on that radar. I mean, that's really cool. It looks like wow, that is certainly indicative of some nice wind shearing. That's for sure. Man, oh man, look at that. That is really cool. Oh yeah, you can see it there on the velocity. Yeah, this is definitely a very very nice looking supercell. My guess is here is that yeah, there is certainly probably something on the ground at this point. And again, right now it's again kind of over rural areas. Looks like it's somewhat tracking just off to the it looks like it's kind of tracking northeasterly here. So, and this is where the radar site is, right here, by the way. So, again, we're looking very close at it. We got a very good, very nice, clear scan here. And my goodness, this thing is really looking awesome on the radar imagery. I mean, it is very, it just looks really cool. If I haven't seen one this photogenic on the radar image. The precipitation image here. It's been a little while since I've seen one that photogenic out there. I mean that looks really cool. Sorry, I'm just ogling over this myself here, but you know we see it on the velocity image on your right there, pretty well defined, and wow, that is really cool. Now it's like I said, it's dark out there, so not the not the best. Oh, there's our first general report. Okay. Oh man, look at that on the radar scan. Look at that. That is oh, look at that. That is really cool. That is, folks. That is really cool to see. Uh, wow. Boy, oh boy. One of the benefits of having one of these guys right up on the radar site. Look at that. Look at it. It's completely rain wrapped itself. It's very well defined here. Like I said, my curiosity. So we definitely do have a report of a trail. Let's see here what this was. Um, wow, that is that is really cool looking. You don't see that too often. I mean, a lot of times when you see these guys, they're either far away, there's a lot of interference going on. But in this one, it's just very photogenic on the radar imagery. I mean, you can't see it. Yeah, you can't probably see it very well right now, given the fact that, well, it's nighttime. But man, that is, hey, man, that looks really good. I have a screen right here for those of you who don't know. I mean, so typically if you see me looking up, that's what I'm looking at. What you see there is what I see on the screen I got right here. And yeah, I'm just looking at that thing, and that is, I mean, that is a rain wrapped. I mean, it almost looks like a drop. I mean, it's not the same properties. Well, for the most part, not the same properties going on here. But I would just say, hey, it looks kind of like a tropical system, doesn't it? If it was a satellite imagery, that is. But that is really cool. Now it looks like here we'll see. Yeah, so the fire department there reported that there was a tornado. My guess is that it is still on the ground, just based off what I'm seeing here on these radar scans. Yeah, it's. I mean that is really photogenic. And like I mentioned during the weather chat, folks. I mentioned this during the weather chat that sometimes these supercells they don't like to have anything interfering with them, and the big thing that can interfere with them is something cutting off its inflow. And you can notice here that unlike the storms that we were looking at, this one's got some problems. There's some stuff affecting it, but this thing there is nothing impeding the inflow of this thunderstorm right now. Well, except itself at this point. But really, when you take a look at this, I mean, there's no other thunderstorm activity down here. I mean, so this thing just has free range. Uh, Nothing, like I said, to really affect it at all. And in fact, let's double check here. Is this the only guy we got going on right now? We got some other strong storms, but this is the only one that's really looking this impressive on the radar imagery here. Now it looks like probably the next scan here is probably going to be a little bit of a downtick, at least on the reflectivity. What may have actually now been happening is this thing could be kind of including back into the storm. So let's see what the next radar scan is going to show. But now that it's kind of rain wrapped, it'd be interesting to see here. This guy is going to try pulling itself back into the main storm here. We'll see what happens here with that uh, if this is going to continue. But my guess is here is, so we'll know here in the next radar scan or two. In fact, let's double check here. It might still be ongoing. As soon as I get the next radar scan, I had a different, another radar showing me another scan down there. This one might still be ongoing, to be quite honest. Now let's take a look here. If we were to take a look at some of the winds here, now, obviously, like I said, it's a bit trippy to tell. Obviously, we can't determine really the intensity of the tornado until after to have a chance to survey the damage. But just looking on the radar scans from this could be, looks like it might be around EF. Well, I'm not going to speculate. Maybe EF one or two. But again, we don't know officially until the damage surveys. Now, like I said, we have in meteorology, we actually have a list. We have a criteria that we use. So we look at damage and we have damage indicators, and that's been tested, and so that's what we actually use when we go out and would do surveying. Uh, but again, this is a very rural area. Unless it hits an out, a structure of some kind, it's going to be very difficult to determine a full rating on this. But at least looking at the radar scan, uh, like I said, EF1, maybe EF2 right now. But again, that's just ballparking it. Again, it's right up on the radar site. So we'll see what they do with it here. But yeah, my guess is here. I mean, this, like I said, this what you see here is really cool looking. You know, you sometimes see that if you're close enough to the radar and the conditions are right, you can sometimes see that. But that is really cool. Now, the only downside is that it's like I said, it's nighttime, so it's probably not the best photogenic right now. At least in terms of being actually able to see it. But as far as looking at the radar signatures, I mean, it certainly is a very photogenic thing. And if this thing isn't still on the ground, and it certainly at least might try to cycle again. I don't know. We'll see. Um, looks like it's become very rain wrapped if it is still on the ground. Obviously, when we say rain wrapped, basically what you just saw there. That trail begins to pull that rain back in, and so it kind of shrouds itself in rain, and we call it rain wrapped. They're very difficult to see when they're rain wrapped, especially at nighttime. Uh, so even if it was still daylight out, this would still be a little bit difficult to see here. But yeah, we tend to see that with these, some of these trails. They can wrap themselves in rain if the conditions are, well, generally that's what happens. Um, as in always in weather, though, there are exceptions to everything. But we'll wait another scan here and see if this thing might still be going. But what I'm interested in is they haven't extended the trend of warning yet. And this thing is about to leave the actual trend of warned area. So it'd be interesting to see here if by chance I would imagine that they're going to extend a trend of warning, even if it's not that far. I would imagine that they would, just based on what we have been seeing, based on what this thing has been, whether or not it cycles again, that'll be interesting to tell. But let me double check here on something. And that thing is still hanging in there. That's really cool. Sorry, I always like to make sure that I save the radar scans because that is something you don't see every day. This is weather chat with Timmy after dark. Uh, yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Now, what would be interesting though is I'm curious what the hail is like over here. I imagine it's probably somewhat decent. And there they've extended trail warning. All right, so they are going to carry that trail warning. And it's interesting. It looks like they've kind of determined that it looks like it's going a bit more to the north than it is to the northeast here. So it looks like that warning is going to be expanded up here to I-70. Have I been around this area? Actually, yes, I think I have been. I have been through this area before. Um, if I remember correctly. Oh yeah, yeah, I've been through this area. Yeah, uh, very pretty, very farm, very agriculture. Yeah, I've been through around this area because Manhattan's up in there. I've been on I-70 before, going through this area. As a matter of fact, who knows? I may have even taken a picture of around this area. I'll have to dig through my photos here, but it looks like uh, yeah, this thing is, like I said, this is a generally rural area. Now, Kansas State is just a bit off, kind of behind where my picture is. Well, actually, it's a little bit further back off than that. Uh, and then the radar site is there, Topeka. So there's Manhattan, Kansas, right here. All right, and that's where Kansas State University is. I've been over to their campus. It's a very nice campus. Um, and then Topeka is back over here a ways. So again, kind of a little bit rural, but certainly, like I said, certainly, just that thing looks really nice on the. It's still looking good. And the problem is though, is like I said, there's not much around here, and it's not like it's late spring where we have crops and stuff trying to grow a little bit here. So there may not really much to see on the correlation coefficient here. In fact, I'm even kind of looking over some of the older radar scans to see if it was visible. And yeah, yeah, it was visible, very brief. Yeah, it was visible on the correlations. Uh, so we'll wait another scan here too. Let's see what this thing is going to do. Very, very, very fascinating little storm here. And like I said, it's right up on the radar site. We don't always get that luxury. So you're able to see this thing. I mean, we were able to see that pretty clear on. Uh, yeah, the rotation is certainly still there. Now, whether or not there's something still on the ground, we don't know. But from the looks of it, and judging by the report we also have, there was most certainly probably something that was on the ground, at least at one point. Now, right now, I mean, I'm looking at it does still look like it's at least got some low level rotation. It's still rotating. So if that tornado isn't still on the ground, there's certainly probably a rotating wall cloud, right, right. I mean, obviously, it might be a little hard to see. Uh, Maybe the lightning illuminates it though. Uh, Boy, oh boy. I always enjoy me good supercell thunderstorm. So much you can learn from them. Well, we'll give it another scan here, and obviously, since this is a pre-record, we'll probably wrap this up here pretty soon. But I just wanted to show that because I remember I was talking to you guys not long after the weather chat. We were talking about how sometimes these storms can be, if they're, by themselves or whatnot, or given the atmospheric setup. Sometimes you can get some good ones. And in this case, it looks like we did get one to organize itself pretty well, and it produced this absolute beauty. At least on the radar imagery, right? Absolute beauty here. So we'll see if that continues on. But my guess here, though, is because this is already a 20-minute long video, we'll probably wrap this up here. But just wanted to give you guys a little heads up. There you go. That's pretty cool. All right, so will we see more of these tomorrow? Well, we'll have to wait and find out. But in the meantime, hope you all have a good rest of your evening, and make sure you tune in tomorrow evening for the next weather chat. Have a good one, everyone.